no slot in the proposed Viksit Bharat deleted. Now, there is as my younger sister said, there is a marketization of the higher education that is happening. And that is very pertinent if you read the various clauses. Authoritarian centralization, not only centralization, authoritarian centralization. And dealing in funding, strategic functional separation, and some sort of an algorithmic discipline. These are supposed to be the cardinal principles of this so-called piece of legislation. You know what had happened with regard to NEP, Samagra Shiksha, all this like that. I can tell you one thing. Samagra Shiksha is not related to this, but still, since it deals with the arena of education. Samagra Shiksha came in 2018. NEP came in 2020. Then came PMC in 2022. Since Kerala didn't implement PMC, which 2022, we were denied the fund that was due for us on the Samagra Shiksha. See how, they skip the things. How can something which came after that can be bundled or tied with a scheme which came, say, 4 years before? So these are the strange rationale they bring in. Now, you know all what happened with regard to the CET. The inherent character of a university has been completely with the CET. I declared I came to Delhi to be a student of JNU precisely because it is JNU. If it were not to be JNU, I would have been a student of JNU. Because there is a character for every university. Somebody would be picking up one particular university because there is a character for such a university. They don't want to have a character for any organization, any institution. This is something which we should, keep it in mind. Now, all these final points with regard to the BBCA, which you know there's aspects about the 3 councils, all this and that. But most important thing is that the whole gamut of higher education is going to be dealt at this level. But the representation of the states, that is something which is upon. See, if you go through the bills, 12 members to the Apex Commission, the center appoints, and there is a nominal part-time presence of just 2. Just 2 for the states. संजय जी, ये यूनियन ऑफ स्टेट से अभी कहाँ है, मतलब ये फेडरेशन का मतलब क्या है, मुझे मालूम नहीं. So they don't even recognize the concept that there is a federal constitution in this country. And education was in the state list. It's a contribution done by our Congress friends. Anyway, 42nd Amendment. Now it is in the concurrent list. But they should at least say it's part of the concurrent list. So there is a say, there is a way for a state. And with so much of diversity in this country, can you effectively make sure that how should there be a so-called educational framework in Delhi which is focused without having the involvement, participation of the states? So these are important points to it. Now, there is no linguistic or say regional presence if you look at it. So they don't want to have something like linguistic presence. So when I talk in terms of Hindi, they don't accept the fact that India has got so many languages. Sanjay, you are at advantage. At least in Hindi front, you are benefiting. Now think about the sad plight of people from South India. We are unable to even speak Hindi. Kuch जानते हैं, इसका फर्क जान नहीं सकते. So now the real power of this BBC rests with the chairman and members. Now, Education Secretary and 3 council presidents. Now, UGC also was a flawed affair according to me because the UGC's guidelines were supposed to be guidelines only. I don't know when it became binding. I recollect a couple of Supreme Court verdicts.
The punishment was there.
Earlier it was supposed to be guidelines for the universities. And there is a clause in the constitution that is clause of repugnance. if at all a state government pass a legislation, if it clashes with the center's legislation, then center's legislation, the legislation passed by the parliament prevails. Well, perfect, okay, we accept that. But even something, if a superintendent's office or a clerk's office issue a direction, even that becomes much more superior than the legislation passed by the state government or the state assembly. So this is the position now with regard to the UGC guidelines. But even in that floor act, not less than half shouldn't be part of the union or the state government. That was the UGC. We shouldn't be part of the permanent executive, that is either part of the state government or the central government. But here that has been conveniently, replaced. So what I understand is that this is something which drives all institutions, universities, in a single commercial framework. This is the motto of this BBC. And I don't want to talk about the Accreditation Council, the Standardization Council, the Regulatory Council, etc. because of the paucity of time. But I can tell you that this bill, if it is passed in this form, will be hugely detrimental to the cause of the education, which we, of course, cherish. And since it is part of the select committee, even after 1 month, the government hasn't come out with the format of the select committee, who are going to be members of the select committee. If at all we know who are going to be the select committee members, at least we could have called them here. But trust me, in Better Goma, the government will have a brutal majority in this select committee. That is how, because for them, parliamentary scrutiny is something secondary. As you all know, earlier 75% of the bills used to go to the standing committees for select committee. Now hardly 16-17% of the bills only are referred to the standing committees. At least in this case, we managed to get it referred to a joint select committee. So at least the stakeholders who are here will be having an opportunity to depose before the select committee, at least on records for the future purpose. The future generation shouldn't blame us that we didn't fight this bill. At least we could prove to the people that we had our say, even not only in our other agitational formats, but also as part of the parliamentary discourse, we got a chance to present our views like that. So, having said this, I am part of this larger alliance. Now, I always feel that in this country, at this juncture, it shouldn't be compartmentalized. We all need to stand together. Sanjay Singh is from Aam Party, from UP, from Delhi, I am from Kerala. But we feel that we need to be together in our fight and resistance, so that this 2047 Viksit Bharat shouldn't reflect the so-called Nazi Germany. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. John Brittas.